Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures that Outperform. Today we are doing episode 3, Role Clarity. We've been talking about the art of IT organizational design. Actually, this is valid for any organization, but we have some examples from IT that we're sharing with you. I don't know if you happen to see the first 2 episodes, but these do go in order. Episode 1 was really organizational considerations. What different organizational design models can you choose from when you're looking at the big picture, and why would you choose one over another? Secondly, we started to look here, which was operational considerations. If you have an org model design, you've got to operationalize that across the different areas you're interacting with. And we talked about those operational considerations. Today, we're going into this. And if you tune in a week, you're going to be we'll be talking about governance and continuous improvement, which is really important because the minute you roll out an organization, within a short period of time, something happens and it starts to decay. Roles change, maybe new functions come in that people are owning. Maybe suddenly AI appears like it has, and you're setting up people to work on that. And you find that companies don't necessarily keep things fresh. And so it's very important to do that. But today we want to talk about the importance of role clarity. We'll take a look at one way you can actually create incredible role clarity. Invest the time and energy one time, you can really nail it and make it good. But Terri, I'm actually sitting here doing a bit of a filibuster, so you may just want to actually kick this off. Terri is a certified culture engineer who's worked in many organizations, been involved in many designs. So
Yes.
Terri, all yours.
So, this is pretty important. It is painful. I will say that. Defining all of the and clarifying all the roles, it is a very tedious process, but you want to take those steps. You want to make sure that you have clearly defined what the roles are and then what the responsibilities are so that you can make sure your organization is aligned to meet the goals that you're trying to meet. So if you don't have all the roles laid out and defined, then you really don't know if you have all the people that you need to do what you're trying to do. So that's another good reason to take some time and really think about the roles and the responsibilities for each and every person that's on the team. And this also keeps down a whole lot of confusion when people understand what they're responsible for, what they attribute to, so they may not be actually accountable for that activity to getting completed, but they actually contribute to it. So they're consulted. And so we'll look at a RACI chart. You're probably all too familiar with that, but it really helps when people understand what they're actually responsible for and what they're not. It keeps people from doing duplicate work. It keeps there from being this overlap where people are not sure. So you end up with multiple people doing the same thing or
Or
having different
or arguing over it.
or arguing over it.
It's all
It just makes people more productive because they're not spending a whole lot of time wasting their focus on the wrong area or unintentionally forgetting or leaving things that are going undone because nobody has taken ownership of this activity and it's a pretty important piece of the project. So you want to take time to write down the roles and responsibilities, make sure they're very clear, that people understand, that they agree that this is truly their responsibility so that things actually get done and they get done well.
Yeah, it really, really matters. You've got to actually really do things in enough detail to prevent these conflicts and collisions that occur. Purpose of org design is to not only build a model where people understand what the interaction rules are, where are the walls and boundaries, how to minimize the number of walls and boundaries so collaboration occurs in a more fluid way. But let's take a look at a way to actually do roles and responsibilities. So what you see here is all these different responsibilities. Here's a project and program management. This goes down through all the different, major functions that have to take place. Now, functions are assigned to different parts of the organization, of course. Organizations can own many functions, and roles are comprised of responsibilities. It's really what it is. And roles are assigned to a person. A person can have multiple roles, each of which has a number of responsibilities. And so what you see here is a set of responsibilities. And on the top, you see different areas of the organization, and you'll see current and recommended underneath that. So this chart gets filled in with RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every one of these responsibilities. And so you collect it from each area, and then you can quickly see where there's an orphan responsibility. Nobody claims it. That always happens. If you've done a comprehensive job going over everything that has to happen, you'll find that there are orphans. Somebody had a responsibility, they left, nobody picked it up. So that's one thing that comes out of it. Secondly, what you find is that two people will claim they own that responsibility. And so you have a current column where everybody's putting down what they think they do and they own, and you come up with a reconciliation where you have actually what the recommended one is. When it's recommended, then the person who is truly accountable or owns it, it's very clear to everybody what area that falls under. And so this is a really good way to actually lay out responsibilities, put the responsibilities into roles, put the functions under the right orgs. Absolute, complete, clarity over roles and responsibilities within your organizational design model. It's great.
Yeah, this makes it easier to onboard people as well. So if you have open positions on your team that you're trying to fill, you can very clearly lay out what that person is responsible for when they join the team. And it just makes their life so much easier. They know exactly what they're responsible for. And with a good org chart, they know exactly what everybody else is responsible for too. So they know who to reach out to. That's one of the biggest things when you join a new company, you don't have your network yet. So you're trying to build your connections. And the great way you can do that is through understanding what everybody's role is, what their responsibilities are. So when you have questions, you know who to go ask the questions of, you know who's actually responsible for the different aspects of the project, and you can take time to go and get to know that person, talk to them, find out, how they're doing the roles that they're responsible for. So it really does make your team function at a much higher level when people understand who's on first.
It makes a real difference. There's
Absolutely.
Role clarity is key. And, there are a few times where I've seen organizations actually invest the time and get this right. Generally, we go and assess companies and we ask questions about role, are roles clear, roles and responsibilities clear. It always scores low. People don't do this. And there's quite a bit of work involved to document all these responsibilities and then to collect it. But, you're working on a shared spreadsheet. So everybody goes in and fills in their column. And very quickly, what emerges is clarity around roles and responsibilities. All those conflicts, collisions, orphan responsibilities, all gets resolved. And then we'll talk about the ongoing maintenance when we broadcast next week.
Yes.
So this is, one of these things that is just vitally important. It takes time and energy, but you've got to get down to having that type of spreadsheet with all those responsibilities. You just have to.
It's a painful process. We do recognize that, but it's absolutely worth it. So the long-term benefit that you'll get from going through this exercise is huge. We can't stress that enough. So make sure you're taking time to let people know what they're responsible for, what their roles are, so that there's clarity across the organization, so that everybody can be successful.
Yeah, hugely important. And remember, projects are assigned out to people. They come and they go. That's not a responsibility. You're assigned a project. That's one of your accountabilities for that particular year as you've done all the strategy and planning. But, when you do this, these are the real responsibilities that you have that are ongoing. Maybe responsible for making sure data is backed up, that never really ends. Maybe somebody else is responsible for making sure the backups are good. Somebody's responsible for owning the strategy and maybe updating it every 6 months. Those are real responsibilities. Somebody comes in and says, hey, we're going to convert from this tool to this tool. It's a project that goes out to somebody. And it could be that they own that type of responsibility, but it's a specific project, because you'll never, ever keep this clean if every time a little piece of work comes in, it has to go on the list of responsibilities. Activities and things that go to projects, that's not what this is. That's a project plan. These are organizational responsibilities that people really own, and they own them year after year ongoing. You update the responsibilities based on changes in the organization and the responsibilities that you take on. Maybe, you know, AI, for instance, coming in is going to generate a new set of responsibilities. Somebody will probably own that on an ongoing basis. And then there'll be projects to do around AI that would go into your whole project planning process. And of course, that's a responsibility. Somebody owns the project planning process. So that's how you really maintain good role clarity in an organization. Like Terri says, yes, it's a pain. The first time through, it's work and it can be tedious, but it's incredibly powerful when you do it. And if you keep it current, you're going to do great. People are going to know. You're going to stop all the collisions. You're going to stop people arguing over who owns what, which is always a great relationship destroyer. So very important to get this right. Very, very important.
Yes, it is, because we know that teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
In order to get the team working, you got to make sure everybody has their part.
I love that, Tara. Teamwork makes the dream work. You're right.
Work makes the dream work.
So, you know, please join us next week for episode 4, which is the governance maintenance of this. We're here every Wednesday at 3:00. We broadcast another episode. We hope you've enjoyed this series. We have another good series coming after this, and it's going to be dynamite. So come on down, join us, watch the prior episodes. You can find us on LinkedIn at the People Productive Company page. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. So please, you can find us anywhere. Tune into those episodes. There's a wealth of stuff out there. Thanks for joining.